Okay. Welcome. This is the Sunday class. Today is the May the 4th be with you, 2025. Yay, we made it. Yes, 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 yes. It's really, it would be great to be on Disney, the Star Wars quadrants now. I don't know, they're going to do special things, but that's something you had to time it. Um, for me, it's not next to impossible because maybe a day trip because of this gardening timing. It's just every awaking moment I'm thinking or tending the plants right now. Yeah, it's a short season up here, so you gotta kind of move on. But anyway, welcome and thank you for those who created time to attend. I know it's not easy. Um, because of the May the 4th, I think it's a very suitable topic. It's not my favorite one, but it is something in terms of the spiritual learning. I think it's something that you might be aware of, or at least you could say, "Oh yes, I heard of," right? So it's a huge, enormous, tremendously big topic here on Earth and our galaxy, if you believe it. And I have been force feeding Diane, poor Diane, to make her watch the Clone Wars, which I believe the one of the best, more thoughtful, complete series among all the Star Wars. There is some animation element to it, so if you are not very fond of it, it's kind of tough going through. Also, it's one of the longest series, and it started very mundane. It's some you could skip something, but nothing changed. A lot of repetition, but it's really important to building up the story to have a backdrop of this is your everyday life, the conflict, and you're born as a soldier or born as the Jedi, born as the one of the the or common people, whatever, but it's a backdrop as a conflict wars and the poverty and etc. And then the great deception evolving slowly but steadily. And then even the wisest man like a Yoda couldn't figure out almost to the end that point where it's too late. But there's something very similar story being recorded in Emerald plate, CDT plates. And that's one of the biggest fall of the human, but also the entire this galactide. And I don't know how far up in going up to. Looks like it started quite high. But that's when the Lyra, the 12th dimensional planets that split into two, because that's where it fell. Go ahead, David. Oh, notice the hands. That's why if you go up and see the star. Oh, hold on just a second. Do you have to do it now? Okay. I have something going on in front of me. But anyway, they call double double. If you do their web search, there's the star system. It's right next to each other called double double. It's a lighter constellation, and it used to be one. And because of the split, the separation or the downgrade or fall, so called, it became two, and then came down to the lower density or dimensions. And that's how that was 250 billion years ago. That's how the whole thing started. And after a while, the fall started happening far more rapidly than anybody could have anticipated. And for the being who had a foresight, foreseeing the great conflict, the wars, there's something that great darkness gonna come upon to and then slowly engulf the entire galaxy. galaxy, and then so that in order to stop or prevent or the part of the rescue mission, there is a collective being created by donation of 12 different the species races, I should say races. Those races are highly dimensional, highly evolved spirit being where they reside from ninth dimension to six and etc. Those are the origin of human. That back then it wasn't called a human; it was something else. It was a different name, and it was a part of the security teams or a collective. Now there's a lot of beings and a collective fought against this idea, the creation of such things, and it was a war happened because certain collective fought to creation of the security team or the collective of those super defensive fight oriented I won't say fight oriented, the security team, but then many others are against the idea of such creation. So looking at the Clone Wars, oh my goodness, how similar to that story. And poor Anakin. If you happen to see, I don't want to be a spoiler, but I have a soft spot to Anakin. But then very mirror to the story that I go into share with you, which I already shared a link in a chat. Now, has anybody seen that link before we come here? No, it's okay.
I watched it.
You watched it? Okay.
It's complicated, but
I know. I will stop and go through. But the reason that I'm force feeding is because how well set in a Clone Wars. In a Clone Wars, it may far more simplified, but it's a whole idea is there, and then I couldn't believe how somebody could kind of emulate a lot of things. And then a lot of creature is showing a Star Wars. Some of them, something like kind of appear. But anyway, I will share. If you have no question, I'm going to share the video. That this is a clip that we've been covering a lot of teaching from her in a very old clip. The teaching where she was. This could be maybe 20 years ago. Now she moved on to something different, but earlier the work she did, the better I feel, the more honest direct transmission. So this is a very precious one. So bear with me. Hold on. I will share. Let me see. Hold on. I don't think it's a copyrighted or anything. Or if it is, it is. I'm gonna deal with that then. This one it is, right?
Cycle. In 22,340 BC, our good buddy Toth, who the universe was very proud of and the founders loved dearly because of all he had done to try to help rehabilitate the Anunnaki races, he caved into pressure and he orchestrated something we call the Great Deception. Because he was so trusted, he was allowed into the colonies of the Iani, the Ascended Masters groups that had come here. They had come here to use Stargate 6 to open it. It's something called the Halls of Amareya Passage. It's in Stargate 6. It runs from Sirius B down into Earth. It's like a passage connected to the main passages. They were going to use it to run enough frequency to override the Nibiru and Diodic crystal grid where it was coming up in what is now the area of Stonehenge. Toth was supposed to assist in that process. He was also given Conquistador Tour Plate 11. Now these plates are discs. They're small discs that store all of the information that has to do with the race history here, the planetary history, but also the race history that went up further into the higher harmonics. He was supposed to translate verbally, not auditory, not in written form, because there was too much corruption to put it in written form on the planet then. He was supposed to take collectives of the Anu Melchizedek races, which were half human, half Anunnaki, and he was supposed to teach them the truth, the law of one. He was supposed to teach them the Maharata realities, the inner Christos. He was supposed to begin to teach them these things. Another little thing about the cloister door Torah plates, these are frequency holders and transmitters. They can also transmit frequency that
I just want to stop here so that people relate to what is going on all of a sudden. So Thoth is probably the most famous, known as one of those Egyptian gods. I think he was depicted as one of those bird. Gosh, there's a certain word for that.
Just a moment. I thought that Thoth was actually the crocodile-headed jackal-like being that ate the heart of those who lied if the feather was heavier than if the heart proved heavier than the feather, and that Osiris was the bird god.
Oh, okay. I don't. That's not how I
Oh,
remember, but hold on. I think it was So here you go, Jeff Lee. If you don't mind reading, so who is Thoth? Right, just
oh, okay. Never
paragraph.
mind.
Can you
Never
read?
mind.
Oh,
Oh yeah. Okay. All right. Here. Yeah. I'll read it.
okay.
All right. Thoth was I think that's how it's pronounced. Also, Thoth was an Egyptian god of writing, wisdom, magic, and the moon. He was also associated with order, justice, equilibrium, language, and reckoning. The ancient Egyptians credited Thoth with inventing writing, or hieroglyphs, as it was at the time, creating knowledge, and fabricating the world's languages. He was also considered to be the scribe of the underworld and a record keeper of the gods. Thoth was often depicted as a human with the head of an ibis. Oh, okay.
That's
Yeah,
it.
now that one's familiar. Or as a baboon with a lunar disc and crescent on his head. His sacred animals were the ibis and the baboon, and the ibis was a sacred bird in ancient Egypt associated with wisdom. Thoth was a moon god, credited by the ancient Egyptians as the inventor of writing and also considered to be the scribe of the underworld. During the late period of ancient Egypt, a cult of Thoth gained prominence due to its main center, Kumun, Hermopolis Magna, also becoming the capital. Thoth was inserted in many tales as the wise counselor and persuader, and his association with learning and measurement led him to be connected with Sishat, the earlier deification of wisdom, who was said to be his daughter, or variably, his wife.
Yeah, thank you. So interestingly, this Thoth was actually related to a lot of other beings because the Thoth is multidimensional being where the lower dimension expression of him as expressed as Enki. I don't know, you know that name Enki? It's pretty famous one. That's a part of the Thoth expression. And then Thoth comes up as a god or deceived other collective as a god in some Mayan or Inca the civilization. That's why there's a lot of similarity between those civilizations. If you notice the way the pyramids, right? Do you notice that there's a different time period, but they are very similar in terms of the belief system, gods, and the numbers, and the type of architects. And they are saying basically he's all behind it because that's how ranking in terms of the be trusted and supposedly kind of leading other collective to coming back to the law of one, the original divine creation, a design and design, I guess. I wouldn't say design, but basically the healing back to the original God creation. So so if you know the Clone Wars, I would say Toph is kind of like Anakin. Whoop. Oops. Oh no, what did I do?
I'm sorry. There is something interesting about Anakin.
Spit it out.
Yeah, Anakin Skywalker is usually perceived to have a knowledge of the future through precognitive visions and even the ability to perceive certain things as they are happening without even seeing the objects in front of him. Whether awake or in dreams, and
Mm-hmm.
something that kind of manifests in his destiny.
Yeah. That's pretty cool, yeah?
Yeah. Also, the fact is he's kind of an anomaly in the Force because he has a lot of his abilities come from the fact that he has an excessive number of midichlorians compared to the other Jedi.
Yeah.
We learned that the Jedi usually let's see. We learned that the Jedi kind of train the young, they indoctrinate the very young or Padawans into their program from a very early age. And that's why they are kind of ambivalent about accepting Anakin into their circle.
Right.
Because he cannot be so easily controlled.
Yeah. Very good. I'm having a technical problem now. I can't exit out or
Activate something else called a signet shield. There were 12 cloister Duratura plates that were created at the same time as 12 signet shields. These look like hubcaps. Okay, they're bigger than the plates. You have the small plate, then you have a signet shield. The signet shields were given to the angelic human races in 2,460 BC. No, 246,000 BC. 246,000 BC. As part of the Emerald Covenant, they're remote activators for the Stargates. Okay, you can't activate the shield without the plate that goes with it. Thoth was entrusted with plate 11 in order to transmit information to help the Melchizedek races, some of them, the ones that weren't totally corrupt at that point, to go into the light and to start, going into bioregenesis. He made a decision to side with the rest of his families, with the Enki family. We call it Thoth Enki because that is a particular group. Thoth Enki is the Enki Anunnaki family that crossed with the Zephelium Draconians, which are the ones that created the Zetas. So you can be like Thoth Enki Zeta races. All right. Then there's the Marduk lines that cross with the Omicron Draconians, which are the ones that kind of look like dragons. So there's different families of Anunnaki up there. Thoth caved into the pressure of the thought of a united Anunnaki nation, where all these usually warring factions of Anunnaki, bunches of them were agreeing to come back together, and they were going to create a new paradise, and they were going to take good care of this time matrix, so I guess it was okay to take it over. He betrayed the founders, and he betrayed everyone who had trusted him, and he had, for thousands of years, he had worked the Emerald Covenant and done tremendous things for the races, so he was very well loved. But he himself came in to the Iani colonies. The Iani colonies were on what was the remainder of the Lemurian continent. There wasn't much left of the Lemurian continent after it was destroyed in 50,000 BC, but there were some island nations left. The Iani colony was put on the area where the activator site for Stargate 12 was. Not the gate, but the activator site, the Q site, which are even more important than the sites themselves because you can't activate the site unless you activate the activator site first, the Q site. This area is now Kauai, Hawaii. They put the colony there because they needed to activate Gate 12 activator site and connect it to the Halls of Ave Maria D6 Stargate to run enough frequency through to break the Nibiru and Dyadic crystal grid link. And that's what they were trying to do. Thoth came in and handpicked a few Melchizedek priests, got them in because he was trusted, got them into the priest caste that were working with the Templar mechanics. And even though they're Melchizedek, we weren't prejudiced against Melchizedeks. As long as they were working the Emerald Covenant and could be trusted, they were welcome too to help with the planetary grids. He got them in to an 11-year program, or it was like a 10 or 11-year program, of progressively working up to the point as a Melchizedek priest where they would be able to go to the island, the hidden city on the island, and work the big project, which was to break Nibiru and hold on the grids. And he got a group of priests in, and Melchizedek priests, and they sabotaged the whole mission. And then Thoth came in himself when it all went to heck, there were raids that came in directly from Nibiru, and Toth was with one of them that landed in the Iani, on the Iani settlement. He gave them an opportunity, the Iani priests, bless you. They were given the opportunity to, they needed female breeders on Nibiru to get the codes. So the Iani women were offered an opportunity. If you don't want your husbands tortured and killed and sent over as basically fish bait to the corrupt Atlantean temples, we'll let them go, but you come with us. Toth offered that deal. This is a good example of how wonderful things and horrible things can live in the same body. A bunch of the Iani women went to try to save their husbands. It was even worse, though, because the Great Deception came in here. They were told, now we were all isolated, and I say we because I was there. That was one of my incarnational places. We came into an experience where all of a sudden there are spaceships coming from everywhere, and they're landing on the island, and they're Nibiruan spaceships. Everybody's scattering, like, oh no, what happened? They had jammed our communication lines to the inner Earth races and to Sirius B, which were our main outposts that we could receive off-planet information. We were told that they had control of the planet itself, that they'd taken the whole thing already. We were told that Alcyon Council, that's the Palladian Council, that works with Sirius B and the rest of them, had surrendered because they had, won certain battles. We would have been left to believe that there was nothing left. And they had said, if you don't agree to come with us, we'll not only torture your husbands, we're going to blow up the whole place because we don't need it. We'll get inner Earth, and then we'll destroy all the races on the face of the planet. So if you women of the Iani care about the other life forms on this planet, you'll agree to be our breeders. You'll agree to come to Nibiru with us, because if you don't, we'll do horrible things to this planet. We were under the understanding that, uh-oh, this is really bad. They have control of the whole thing. And without Alcyon Council to hold Gate 5, that meant they had Gate 5, not just Gate 4. That meant that the only hope of fixing anything was to stay alive long enough to try to figure out what to do next. So a bunch of the Iani women, because they thought that that's the way the reality was, the way it had been painted, they went with them to Nibiru to be breeders. But they didn't get to go before they got to be breeders. They had to make sure they were pregnant. There was a selection that was done. Only the best of them were chosen. Boy, did that imprint come through with us now. I think women get their total insecurity about how they look because they were treated like meat. Only the ones that had the right genetic characteristics, the right eye color, the right hair color, the right proportions, were allowed to even be selected. You got to remember, Iani women were guardian women. They also came in as part of what's called a gender twin set. They came in with their twins, something called the Maharic twins, which are their D12 level Christos twins. They're genetically bonded together, Iani twins. Male and female couples. They come in at the same time, and they have strand 1 through 6 polarized and separate, but strands 7 through 12 are bonded. So they're literally one being when you get to D7. They split up the Iani gender twin couples, and they forced the women to become breeders of Anunnaki. They raped them when necessary. If they liked one that didn't want to play the selection thing, go ahead, kill me and my mate, I don't care, we hate you, that kind of thing. You're doing something terrible, we're not going to help you. They would rape them instead, and if they happened to be able to get them to conceive, they would.
Okay, so I
had access to more
oops. But this is a little dark, right? So I'm kind of glad it's not there because it's kind of get worse. Well, it's not get worse. Yeah, it get worse. So I guess one of the reason I really wanted to go Hawaii, or I have affinity to Hawaii. I always I knew, or a part of me was related to Lemillion, and maybe that's why I was born originally in Japan. So there's a many islands, and Lemuria was in anti-parallel realm. So it's nothing probably tangible will be surfacing here, but it did exist, and I do know it exists because I do can recall and then feel that energy. So I did feel a lot of those energy in a part of the Maui, Hana Peninsula, Hana ends of it. I really love that area. But I also, the biggest affinity is in a Kauai. And it just immediately felt that is my home. And I really want to be buried there or whatever. That's my final destination for sure. Now, one or the other, there's a lot of terminology comes that they call the CDT plate. There's comes a number. So if you recall the tree of life, 1 through 12, right? And then in a previous class, I think I show you there's a correspondence to the stargates. And on the Earth is an interesting place. It have a planetary gate that connect to the within this solar system, but it's also connected directly to galactic level. So how those serious being and as a being be able to communicate or come in and out because of we have a portal, the gate. Now, the gate from here to up, there's the two things has to happen. The one that they describe is a disk, right? The disk that you just cannot be destroyed. There's a material is made of off-world material where it is not possible to destroy in any of the things we have here. And then it's have a multiple purposes. One is record every single history, like a Kasek record, so that history cannot be modified. And if you forget everything, you could go back and read and re-imprint, because it's stored, it's part of who you are. And also act as key to open the gate and designated to the disk had designated to 1 through 12. And now the second thing is the disk itself won't take you to point A to B because the corresponding genetic material has to be there to activate. So it is corresponding to the tribe. This is why the 12 tribes come from. Each tribe has a designated stargate or planetary gate. Sometimes it combined and then given to supposedly to protect this disk. When everybody, all the 12 tribes come together, the whole 12 grid and the 12 gates being activated in that situation, you could go a lot of different places, like simultaneously, because all the genetic material is there. However, at this level, the density is so low and dense. There's no one being, very few beings could hold all 12. So this is why they split it up into the different tribes so that each tribe carry and be constantly activated a particular strand of DNA that correspond to the gate. So a lot of human reincarnate over and over in the same place, in the same village with the same type of people or a group of people. And that's not very uncommon. And then maybe that's why the certain place the people look all the same. Do you notice there's a certain place you go? Oh my God, that person looks like this and that. Oh, there's a more of the Bob or David or something, you know. But anyway, the long story short, that is what they're talking about. Obviously, higher the number it goes, the higher the dimension that you're taking care of. So, in a factor 12 had a 11, it is almost 12, isn't it? Once you have a 12, you could go next harmonic, which is inner earth, that is the different it's just a totally different harmonic, right? The level up beyond the 12th dimension. So he was almost there, the 12th. Now I think he was 11.3 or 4 or 5, I don't remember, but it's almost there. Almost there meaning that he was almost completely be healed and a bioregenesis to the point where the before the split of the lighter, because that's where all the the bad things start happening. When they blow up the one race at that level in the 11th dimension. Now, so he had a both genetic, the one from Anunnaki, which is went against the founder, and then also founder genetic. And very toward the end, I guess this must be happening. It's not happening in one day. That's why I think I fascinated to watch the Clone Wars, because they have a progression of how Anakin change, and throughout countless battles and the interaction with the councils and the things that manipulation in the backdrop that he didn't know about, right? So, and then everybody being received too, not just him. Nobody could even believe what had happened. So that was a story, and the most important thing was that this tribe, Iani tribe, who carried the 12 activated genetic material, who has also all the disc 12 as well, to collect planet Earth back to the divine blueprint. The reason why is that Nibiru, the planet Nibiru, Nibiru, I don't know how to exact pronunciation, I think she was pronouncing it Nibiru, was part of our solar system, the 12th planet, in the same orbit as like everybody else, but now going through the enormously skewed, elongated the pattern, so we don't see most of the time, most of the lifetimes, until when it comes to this, this side of it. But anyway, what I wanted to say is that so they they basically change the course of the rotation. The rotation is they had a technology because they have a disk. They know how to work on a cathode grid and manipulate the divine template to stretch the point where they completely modify an orbitary cycle. So I assume when you change that, you also change your lifespan. They live far more longer, but now they also have a problem with the environment. But anyway, long story short, they could install something from the higher dimension and manifest here in a lower dimension, and we have no idea where they came from. And a lot of things happen, the installment and the mutation of installment in a foreign crystal grid, and modify and jam up all the communication. So first, we don't remember our race history, and then the second, our lifespan, and then also the ailment come with it from the disorganization of a foreign object on the planet Earth. You see the gigantic selenite crystal deep under the ground. If you search that, you see it, and scientists has no idea where they come from because it's not from here. The second thing, the biggest in Stonehenge. Stonehenge is the biggest one. The corruption happened on a planetary base. This is why we can't communicate each other. We used to, before the Babylonian time, you remember the Tower of Babel? It's tilted now. It's that's where the communication system being jammed up. It's called checkerboard mutation, and that's the signal coming from the Stonehenge as kind of the origin, the constantly beaming out and to reinforcing an imprint of a mutation so that we don't understand each other. We could speak any language, but we didn't understand exactly what are we talking about. Also, we were able to communicate with the plants, animals, or other elemental
Covering a lot of territory, coming from a lot of different directions in that.
Yeah, I guess so. That's true. I guess it could start with there's a lot of mystery exists on Earth, right? And then there's far-reaching, something unseen, and something far greater than that you may wish to believe out there. I think it's only way to find out is go into your inner self and either meditate or intent that how you be able to kind of process the information, or you want to process the information, and there is information is already in you. You already have it within, because that's everything is recorded on your DNA and then from your bone all the way out to your auric field. So it's just one of those things that the practice, trust your feeling. The feeling are very important. It's a lot of things that I guess maybe now is it gonna emphasize more. But I think it's here. It is definitely they're going against those things. Maybe not now, but it's feelings are perhaps very important when you're searching the truth, and especially something esoteric or something cannot be touched and seen. not acknowledged by mainstream science, I guess. That's what it is.
Yeah, the scale of 260 billion years changes things.
Yeah, it's just a time.
But it's, yeah, how does that scale down to 2025 May?
Well, the interesting thing is all happening at the same time, same place. So it is, in a sense, it's still happening, the split and the separation, conflict, and binary, extreme polarity, and domination, by very few collective of the entire resource of the earth. That's something hasn't been changed. So how that's gonna relate to your life, I don't know. You could see as like entertainment, right? Or you could completely ignore, and your life gonna be probably still the same as yesterday, with or without this information. Or the way I process, oh my goodness, I wasn't that too strange. My feeling and hunch I always had was actually validated by this small collective, these people exist. At least, right, the reality that they hold, it's true for them. And then may not necessarily I agree with them 100%, but a lot of things I experience it resonate well with what they're talking about. So kind of finding your own little tribe or reality.
Yeah, I guess we all have our own truths and
Mm-hmm.
something that expansive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can't, yeah. I agree. I do what are you talking about, because I can channel or read these plates, right? And there's another person does it, Lisa Renee, that who are energetic synthesis. She's also the translator. Um, so it is those people exist. It's quite amazing. And there's a group of people assisted her on the writing and bring down the translation. So that's amazed me also. Anyway, has anybody seen the Clone Wars? I know Diane.
Is that the series or the movie?
It's a series.
Okay.
I do recall seeing a few episodes of it, which was interesting, but I felt that I kind of approached it the same way that most people would approach the appendices of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, the ones that Tolkien wrote.
Hmm?
You know, in other words, it contributes interesting salient data about how something works, or something the way it was, but is it integral? Is it really integral to the plot? It's kind of like one of those things where you got the impression of what happened. Maybe that was a mysterious, but sometimes the mystery was a little bit more interesting than the actual telling of the story. Of the revealing of the details.
I
As a
see.
result, I don't think I have been committed as much to the I don't think I was committed so much to the spin-off series, or for that matter, the spin-off novels, including those written by Alan Dean Foster, as I was by the actual movies proper, for which how this whole saga began.
Mm. I don't like to follow completely, but
The thing is, it's like the extra stuff. It's good. It may be good. It may
oh, okay,
contribute
okay, okay.
interesting stuff, but it doesn't seem to be as integral to the central story of the saga or the themes. It may be integral to the themes. There may be some interesting content, but in a sense, it's like supplements. Supplements in your medicine.
I understand. Yeah, I understand. I probably this is more personal that why I have so much affinity to Anakin and that kind of people. I have a feeling it must be somehow I have some part of it or something. Because yeah, I'm not, I don't want to overshare, but yeah, this is just could be the fragment of information in a scale of the things. But I thought it's kind of be interesting. Otherwise, there's no really good place to share this information, and it's pretty dark. Actually, a lot of those history are really really dark. So you kind of have to laugh about it a little bit, here and there. Could be inappropriate, but otherwise it's just too much. Um, you know, so what happened to Iani, basically the massacre. But then if you're going back in the history, those massacres seem to be happen like pages and pages continue on. So it is basically, try to expand and who has a which gate portal, real estate of the area where the energy point. That's basically how they kind of the drama, galactic drama. And it's kind of hard to it's not too hard to imagine just looking at the earth, and it's a lot of conflict still, but it's not everybody, right? There's parts of it always going on as a backdrop, but not necessarily you are in it or you are part of, moving those, conflict. So it is your reality you create and you put yourself to the best experience and expansion you could have to grow yourself and evolve, as a soul and a spirit. So it is eye-opening, and I think to me, and then kind of be able to kind of expand and explore the potential or possibility. And I think it's more important to kind of relate back to you and your story so that you know, there's a far greater thing seems to be happening, but every little thing is also as significantly great. How you go into spend your day and then see your reality, I think has a far more impact on you and your ascension trajectory. So with that, I kind of want to stop the recording, and I really thank you all for coming and being with me tonight. Let me stop. Yes, Didi.